Hello everyone, welcome back to another lecture on the course Python Fundamentals Building Blocks for Aspiring Developers. So we will start with the sixth module in this lecture where we will be looking at file handling and some of different functions of file handling. So this is our agenda for this module. Again, we've divided it into 4 days. First, we will start with the basics of file handling, that is opening and closing files, reading data. Then we'll see how we can write data to files, different file modes. Then we'll also see how can we work with CSV files because most of the data that is shared is in CSV format. And then we'll also have a bit of practice exercise and a mini project at the end, in which we'll kind of see all of the concepts that we learned in this module. So let's begin. File handling, reading of data. The first thing that we're going to do. So Python allows us to interact with files in your file system. Like if I have a file, Python allows us to interact with that. By interaction, I mean we can open the file, we can close the file, we can read the file, we can update the file, these sort of things. So we can use the open function in Python. The name of the function is open. It's a default function, or a function that already exists in Python. We do not need to code this function. It's just sort of like print function. And this function opens a file and returns a file object. We will see what a file object is. And once we have this file object, this means that we have a reference to that file, and then we can read the file, write some data on the file, or we can even append some data. And appending data is adding to the existing data. We'll see the differences in these three as we move on in this module. So the example, this is how we can um, open a file. So file variable is the file object, and it is important to close the file when we are finished working with it. So if you look at the example code, the first one I'm just giving a path to the text file. So we need to give a complete path. We can also give a relative path. This one is a relative path because the text file is in the same folder as a Python code. We'll also have a look at this, but the path has to be correct and we have to mention the extension, that is .txt. Then to open the file, we say file is equals to open. File is the variable that holds the file object. So if we are to refer to the file, if we want to do something to the file, we will do file dot and then something else. So file basically is kind of like a pointer, you can say, that points to the file on our computer, and then we can make changes to the file through this variable. So think of it like this. So what we do is that we say open, then we put in the file path, and then we put in a second argument, that is the mode that we want to do. So we saw that there were three modes: read, write, and append. So we're going to start with the read mode. So read mode does not allow us to make any changes. If we open the file in a read mode, we cannot make any changes to the file. We can just read the data in the file. So it is kind of secure in a way that if you only want to read the data, you want to open it in a read mode, so you don't make any changes accidentally on the file. Then after we have done everything, we need to close the file, that is file.close. If we do not close it, then the variable is not closed properly. It can cause different errors and can even corrupt the file that you are using. So it's important to close. So these are some functions of reading data from the files. The first is the read function. So once we have opened the file, we can use the read function to read the contents of the file, whatever is written in the file. So if you look at the third line, that is after opening the file, we say data is equals to file.read. So here again, we are using the file variable, that is the file object, and we say dot read. So it says that read everything from this file. So we can read all the text that is there, and then we can print it. And then importantly, we need to close the file. We can also read each line separately using a loop. And for example, there are, let's say, 15, 20, 25 lines of different lines in the text file that we're going to read, but we do not want to read them as one. In one variable, we can read them line by line and things like that. We'll also see these in the code, so then it will be much more clear. And then there is also another way to open the file. Um, it does the same exact thing, but the syntax is slightly different. So we use the with statement in Python. What this does is that it automatically closes the file once we exit out of this part. So if you look at the code below, it says that we have a file path. So instead of doing file is equals to open and then file path, we say with open. Everything is there, file path and read mode as file. So variable is kind of coming at the end, and then we can do a colon and write within this with statement again with an indentation. So whatever we need to do with the variable file, we do. And once we write code outside of this with statement, that means that we have exited this. The file will close automatically and the variable file will also be finished. So what it does is that it simplifies the code for us. We do not need to close the file. We can see that in the with statement that the code block here is dealing with the file. It is easier on the eyes. We can catch it easily. So this is like more preferred way of dealing with files. But in this one, we'll obviously look at both of these. So let's start coding. So first, what I want to do is I want to go to VS Code. We have the code from the previous one opened. I'll just close it. I'll create a new file and I'll name it module 6.py. So we have a new file and yeah, let's start. So first what I want to do is that I want to create a new text file. So I will say okay, new text file. Let's say uh, example.txt. I have this text file open here. So it's just a text file. I can write whatever I want. Hello Python. Uh, good to see you and I am learning it. Okay, pretty good. Save it. I'm doing Control S. That is saved. So if you want to look at it from here, let me see. If I do this and I have this code. So this is the example text file that we've created. Again, hello Python, good to see you. So we've just opened it in VS Code, nothing different. I can now close it. It's the same one. So now what I want to do is that first give the path of the file. So what I do is I say file underscore path. Now this is a variable. I can name it anything, but variable names need to be descriptive. So I say example.txt and just writing the file name because my code and this one are in the same directory. Okay. So I do not need to give a complete path. We'll see if where we need to give that. Then we say file is equals to open. We say open the file. Which file? We say file path. And then we say okay, which mode? We say R. If we do not specify, the default is R. And then we say file dot close, something like that. Again, it won't print anything, but just so you know that everything is working. Yeah, no output but no error. So we say okay, print file. Let's see what it prints if I just print the file. So you see, it does not print any text that is in the file. It prints something like this, io.text wrapper and this stuff. So this means that it file is a file object. It is not the contents of the file. We read the contents of the file using the read method that we will see. So file is like a file object that has some maybe sort of specifications of where the file is and these sort of things. So we're not really concerned with this file module, but we can just see that if we print file, we see okay, name of the file is here. So this means that our file is at least opened. We cannot see yet what is in the file, but we know that file is opened. Now, if I were to give a complete let's say complete one. So I say Control C, copy, and I say I want to go to Python course, and I do paste it over here, and let me just rename it. I will just rename it example2.txt. Yeah, everything's fine. So now the example2.txt is not there. So if I say example2.txt, and now if I run it, it says no such file or directory example2.txt. So what happens is that when I have this code, I have the Python file here. So if I don't give it a complete path, the Python will start searching in the same directory. If the file is there, that's good. If it's not there, then it won't work. Now one thing I can do is that I can give a complete path of this file. Like this, I copy this path over here and I paste it over here like this, and then I say example2.txt. So it is the complete path. This is not a relative path anymore. Now whenever Python sees this path, it will say, okay, go to C directory, then Python course, and this and so that. So if I run the code now, so it says, okay, C Python course example2.txt, because we have example underscore 2. So everything needs to be correct. So we go here, we say, okay, example underscore 2.txt, run the file. Now it's opened. So you see how we need to give it a complete path. Let's see what if I do this. You see, if I don't include the extension of the file, again it says no such file or directory. Even though we don't see an extension here, we only see the extension when we go to properties. Now we see, okay, it is a .txt file. But in Python, we need to specify the extension. So we say .txt, this. Now everything's good. Yes, everything's good. I could also give it a, let's say like this. Yeah. So what this does is that when I do a dot dot, this means that go into the previous directory, like go into the previous directory in from the current directory. So when I'm here, I say slash dot dot slash. So that means that, okay, go to the previous directory, this one, like this code folder is in this one, so go to this one and search for there. If I do it even more than that, it shouldn't work. Yeah, no such file or directory, because we have gone back two places, that is in local disk C, so there's no example2, so it won't work. Here we have example2, it works. Okay, but now let's get back to this example one. We've seen the directories and everything, how we can change it. So let's say we have example.txt, the same file, this file that we started. Okay, we'll just keep it here. Now what I want to do is that I want to read the contents of the file. So I say file content is equals to file dot read. We read whatever is in the file. Now this part will read the text in the file. Now I say, okay, print the file content, save it, run the code. Now it prints the content of the file. Hello Python, good to see you, and I'm learning it. Now if I just trying to copy paste it on multiple lines just to see, and I will just add one something at the end so we know that it is a different line in the text code. 4, 5, 6, that's a 9, 8, 7, and 10. I've saved the file using Control S. So now if I run the code again, it says okay. It reads this file content has all the content of the file from here, even the spaces in between. See, so this one variable has all the text that is in this example.txt. So you see how we can read it. Now I can maybe find some word in there, like if we want to see if there is the word called Python in this one, things like that. Um, I could do whatever I want with this one. But since it is an example, it is much simpler, but still. But if I want to go line by line. So for that, what I would do is that for line in file, and then I say print, oops, print typo, and let me just comment this one out because we do not need it now. So what is happening here is that when I do this for loop, I do not need to read the contents of the file. I can just apply the loop on this file object. But this one will read each line separately. Like this is first line, this is second line is empty. Let's just remove some empty lines over here. So we know how is it going. Now just run the code. So it reads everything one by one. Okay. How I can make sure? Um, for example, if I say if line -1, let's say int, instead of -1, we want to say -2. So we say -1 dot from -2 to -1. I'm trying to just get to this number and just trying to put an operation over here so you know that each line is separate. Okay, modulus 2. Right, let's see if it works. Yeah, let's see. Okay, invalid literal with wisdom. Let's see what this prints. Anyways, yeah, it's there's a better way to do it. Let's just get rid of this one. I just want to show you how each line is different. So let's say I only want up till the fifth character of the line. So it says hello, 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 hello. So this means that it is cutting everything at the fifth character, right? If I say I, goodbye, save the file, and I run it again. So everything is being cut it at the fifth character. So this means that it goes line by line. But what if I want to do this over here? Over here, I say print file content and cut everything up till the fifth character. It will just say hello because from here till here is one string. So it will just cut it over here for this file dot read. When we go line by line, it first reads this line, then this line, then this line. So each of these is a separate string in each iteration. So this is why we can perform operations. Now we have everything done of how we can read the file, but we want to see how we can use the with statement. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this part. I'm going to remove this part. I'm going to keep them as it is. We might need them later. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say with open, and I'm going to say file path mode is equals to read. I'm going to say as file. Again, I can name it everything. This is just a variable name. So it's just like this. File is equals to open. So if I write it like this or write it like this, it's pretty simple, right? You can see the similarity. So I'll get rid of this one, get rid of this one, and then I can say, okay, print me the file. Just want to make sure the file is being opened. Yes, the file is being opened. Now I can do everything that I want with the file, the same things. I can read the content of the file like this. Yes. Let me just get rid of this. Read the complete content of the file, save it, run it. Yes. Now I want to go line by line and do not want to read this one. Like this, run the code, everything's fine. The same exact output, but I'm not writing this file dot close. I'm not writing this, right? Because when I move out of the with statement, file is automatically closed. Now if I do print file over here, wait a second, yeah. Yeah, so if I do print file over here, it still shows, but you can't really do anything much with that. So the purpose of this with statement is that once the code is complete, it will close the file by itself, so we do not need to close it. So that was all in this lecture, and yeah, we will meet you in the next one. Up till then, goodbye.